You're seeing another man, aren't you? No, I'm not. Don't lie to me. I'll cheat too, you know. I've reached my breaking point. I can't go on with Stanley, who's just a jealousy-driven attention seeker. I decide it's time to leave him. My name is Katie, a 26-year-old homemaker. Stanley and I have been married for almost a year. While most people enjoy the honeymoon phase, I find myself unable to say that I'm truly happy. I met Stanley at a party hosted by a mutual friend. I was instantly captivated by him. He was charming, good-looking, and worked for a major company. There was just one catch. He was 10 years older than me. Because of the age gap, the other women at the party seemed a bit hesitant around him. But I've always liked older men, so this was actually a plus for me. Stanley seemed to like me too, and initiated a conversation. As we talked, I realized the age difference didn't matter. He was easy to talk to. My feelings for him grew stronger. We exchanged numbers at the party and began to date. Stanley was a gentleman and led the relationship well, which I found comforting. About 6 months into dating, he proposed. You're the one for me, Katie. My life's been so much better since I met you. I want you to be by my side, making my life richer. Will you marry me? His words made my heart soar, and I immediately accepted the proposal. I was only 26, but I knew I'd regret it if I didn't marry him. We held a family meeting and got married. Our wedding was a joyful event with many attendees, making us feel truly blessed. Then came our married life. At his request, I quit my job to become a full-time homemaker. So I put my all into household chores every day. This fried chicken is really good. Really? I'm so glad. Katie, you're a fantastic cook. Thanks. Well, I lived alone for a while, so I got pretty good at cooking for myself. Really? So, have you cooked for other men before me? Well, I've cooked for ex-boyfriends. This fried chicken too? Probably, yes. So, what? I'm eating something you've served your exes? What? I want to be the first man to taste your cooking, Katie. I don't want to be second best or anything like that. He didn't want to eat anything I'd cooked for past boyfriends. I was speechless, to be honest. But I loved Stanley back then, so I tried to come up with dishes I never made for anyone else. Stanley was ecstatic when he learned he was the first to try a dish, but having to confirm this each time was a bit of a hassle. Eventually, I started cooking the same dishes for Stanley that I had made for my exes. Is this a new dish you've never made for other men? Actually, I've never made this one before. It's a little complicated, but I thought I'd make the effort for you. When I said that, Stanley looked extremely pleased and ate a lot, saying, "It's really delicious." It's a piece of cake, really, but I've always thought it's basically a hassle. Turns out Stanley is incredibly jealous. For example, he got mad just because the delivery guy was male. Tell me you didn't touch hands with him. You didn't invite him inside for anything shady, did you? Why would I ever do that? I snapped back, but Stanley really seemed to want me to avoid contact with other men. This has been quite bothersome, and I've been gradually getting stressed out. And recently, something even more complicated happened as we hit our 1-year wedding anniversary. It all started with an invitation from a friend. Let's get together with the old high school volleyball team. What? I'm in! Can't wait to see everyone. A friend from high school, who was also on the girls' volleyball team, contacted me about having a sort of reunion. Ever since becoming a homemaker, I hardly ever had the chance to go to parties, and there were even friends from my high school volleyball days that I hadn't seen since graduation. So I really wanted to go, no matter what. When Stanley got home from work, I immediately told him about it. A party? Yeah, it's a gathering for the women's volleyball team. No way, you can't go. What? Why not? Aren't men going to be there? No, didn't you hear me? It's for the women's volleyball team. But what if men end up coming later? Or what if the men's volleyball team gets invited and it turns into a mixed gathering? In any case, I can't let you go to such a risky place. Why? Don't you trust me? Are you saying you married a woman who's not trustworthy? I didn't mean it that way. Then give me permission. I want to see my high school friends after such a long time. Okay, fine. Stanley reluctantly gave me permission to go to the party. Jeez. It's exhausting that I have to go to such lengths just to attend a women-only party. I never thought Stanley would be this controlling and jealous. Age may not matter, but he's 10 years older. So I wish he'd act with a little more maturity. 2 weeks later, I went to the venue where the party was being held and reunited with my high school women's volleyball team. We had a great time catching up and sharing old memories. About 2 hours into the party, my phone rang. It was a call from Stanley. Are you okay? You don't have to answer. My friend seated next to me said as I glanced at the screen and set the phone back on the table. Yeah, it's fine. It's just Stanley probably telling me to come home. Your husband? Yeah, he's incredibly jealous. Once the topic shifted to Stanley, I opened up to everyone about how controlling and jealous he was. Everyone was surprised to hear my story and felt disgusted by Stanley's behavior. That sounds like such a hassle. I couldn't handle that. Me neither. I'm amazed your marriage has lasted. Everyone chimed in saying how strange Stanley was and took my side. I turned off my phone and continued to have a great time with everyone. I felt really grateful for having someone to vent to. It did wonders for my stress levels. Thinking this, I reached the corner where my house is and turned on my mobile phone. Then, like a bull in a china shop, calls started flooding in and I had dozens of text messages waiting. What's going on here? All the messages were from Stanley. Every message was something like, "Why aren't you home yet? Come home now." Or, "You're meeting a guy, aren't you?" I could only sigh. Just when I was in a good mood, Stanley ruins it. As I walk in the door, Stanley is there, face like a thundercloud. Hey, what's the deal? Ignoring my messages and turning off your phone? I'm sorry, but we were all having a good time, and I didn't want to be interrupted. So you were with a man. What? No, it was only women. Look. I show him a photo taken with everyone. Everyone from the women's volleyball team is in the picture. No men to be seen. If you've done nothing wrong, then you could have at least responded to me. Why do you have to turn off your phone? Enough is enough. I came home after the first round of the party, and it's only 9:30 p.m. Do I ever stop you when you go to parties and come home late at night? That's work-related. It's different. Stanley always has an excuse for himself. He's so selfish, it's infuriating. I decided then, if something like this happens again, I'll break up with Stanley. And then, sometime later, something troubling happened. What? Mom! The call was from Dad. Mom had collapsed due to a sudden illness. I immediately began preparations to go to the hospital. Then Stanley walked into the room. "What's going on? Why are you getting ready to leave?" "Mom collapsed. I just got the message. I'm heading to the hospital." While saying that, I put my wallet and mobile phone into my bag. Then, out of nowhere, Stanley made a shocking comment. "A man, right? It's definitely a man." "No, that's not it." "Don't lie." "Please don't make this complicated. I'm in a hurry." "You're just going to see a man, aren't you?" "Enough, just stop." "So when will you be back?" "I don't know. It's an emergency, so I'll be late." "You're cheating, aren't you?" "Fine. If you're gonna cheat, so will I." I'd had enough. I couldn't continue with Stanley, this jealous attention seeker. I decided it was time to escape from Stanley. Ignoring his shouting, I switched my belongings into a larger bag and threw in some clothes. Hey, what are you doing?" "I'm leaving." "What?" "I don't have time for this drama. I'm going to my parents' house for a while." "Huh? Is it a man? You're openly staying out?" "Think what you want." "Fine, you're admitting to the affair then." "I'm not having an affair, but I can't be bothered to correct your misunderstandings anymore. I have to go to the hospital. Goodbye." "Hey, wait!" Stanley tried to stop me, but I walked out of the house. I headed straight for the hospital. "Mom, are you okay?" "Oh, Katie, you came." Mom was lying in a hospital bed. "I heard you collapse suddenly. I was so scared." "I'm sorry for worrying you, but I've received treatment and I'm okay now." "That's a relief." Mom had suffered a stroke, but she could be discharged without any issues. "So, Katie, what's with the big bag?" "Well, actually..." I explained the situation with Stanley to my parents. They were appalled by how controlling he was. They told me it was time to get a divorce. I nodded strongly, deciding to divorce Stanley. I returned to my parents' home with Dad and picked up the divorce papers. After that, I looked for a job. I knew I'd have to support myself once the divorce was finalized. A week went by. Luckily, I was able to get a job at a company near my parents' home. I just found out they're offering me a full-time job, so I'm feeling super lucky. Now all I have to do is divorce Stanley. Just then my phone rings. It's Stanley. "Hey, have you come to your senses?" "About what?" "What do you mean, about what? Are you still with that guy?" "No way. I'm at my parents' house with my dad." "Don't lie. You're probably having an affair." "Could you cut it out?" "What? Walter? Why don't you believe Katie? Making assumptions that she's having an affair. What's going on with you?" Well, you see..." Stanley's tongue seemed to be tied, tripping over his words after hearing my dad on the phone. "Now you get it. I've never lied to you and definitely haven't had an affair. But if you won't believe me, that's fine. I'm divorcing you." "What? Divorce? Why would it come to this?" "It's obvious. No one can stand being married to someone like you." "So you're leaving me too?" "What do you mean, too?" Well, you see..." "Answer me. What are you talking about?" "Stanley, answer her." "Actually, I have been divorced before." "What?" My ex-wife left me for the same reasons. You've got to be kidding me. I was completely dumbfounded. It turns out Stanley's overly possessive behavior had driven away his former spouse as well. And he had kept that marriage a secret from me. Why would you lie about something like that? Well, if you found out the reason for my divorce, you'd be put off. And it's harder to remarry with a history of divorce. That's it. I've made up my mind. We're getting divorced. But I can't live without you. Then find someone else to cling to. I'll see you in court. Let's communicate through our lawyers from now on. Wait, Katie. I hung up. Afterward, I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. Stanley resisted till the very end, but my in-laws convinced him eventually. It seems they only learned about Stanley's lie when I reached out to them. They apologized for the troubles he caused me due to his lies and jealousy and helped me with a divorce. So, finally, I could divorce Stanley. By the way, I reported all of this to my high school volleyball team. They were happy about my divorce, and it turns out one of my classmates' husbands works at Stanley's company. News spread like wildfire, and Stanley's now facing the cold shoulder from everyone. Stanley, meanwhile, has had a tough break. The younger colleagues and team members who used to admire him have started to drift away. His performance at work nosedived, leading to errors piling up. He was demoted from his position as a manager and shuffled off to a less dynamic department. As for me, that's none of my concern anymore. It feels like he got what was coming to him. On my end, I've moved back in with my dad and mom, who's now out of the hospital, and have taken up a corporate job again. My coworkers are all genuinely nice people, and I'm really enjoying my time on the job. For now, I plan to keep my focus squarely on work and aim for strong results, putting love and relationships on the back burner.